Everybody wants to increase revenue. But as we know, there isn't actually a single silver bullet. If you think about go-to-market, things change. You've got markets that are changing, you've got competitors that just seem to appear out of nowhere, and you've also just got buyers and that dynamic changing. But the thing is, when you are trying to figure out growth, there are some things that you can actually influence. And when you have a better understanding of what that influence can look like, you can dramatically change the way you start to think about growth. And the best part about this is it doesn't always involve rewriting your entire strategy. Most conversations about strategy get very complicated very quickly. When we are thinking about growth, we come together as leadership teams, we bring in some of the line managers, and we sit around a table and we say, okay, what ideas do we have? So lots of ideas come up, new playbooks, new motions, new tools, maybe even new headcount. But if you actually just take a step back, you'll realize that a lot of these ideas and things that you're trying to do can actually fit into just a few categories. And if you can understand those categories, you can actually simplify the decisions that you need to make around growth. So in this video, I am going to walk you through what I call the 4 V's of go-to-market influence. So that's 4 V's of go-to-market influence. Go with me getting that the first time around. So what is that exactly? Well, just to give you a heads up. So what are these exactly? Well, the 4 V's of go-to-market are volume. I'm gonna have to do my chart, aren't I? I'm gonna have to do this. See, now it's not even, but we're saving paper because we're trying to save the planet. We got volume, we got velocity, we have value, and we have vitality. Now, these 4 levers are going to give you a simple way to think about how you improve performance in your business without it getting too complicated. Before we jump into all of the detail, what I want you to do is I want you to look at your overall strategies, just so we can provide some context. So I want you to think about your go-to-market strategy like your satellite navigation. So you've got a destination here. So you've got a destination here. And what you have is a map that's telling you exactly what the plan is and what's involved to actually get there. So that's your go-to-market strategy. Now, the next thing you need to do is say, okay, so what is it? So let's just say go-to-market strategy. And then the next thing is, okay, so like, what are we specifically going to do? What's the thing that we're going to get in? What's the motions, the tactics, the activities that's going to allow us to get there? Okay, so that is your execution. Now, your execution is your car. Oh God, that is really bad, isn't it? All right, it's fine. All right, we got 2, okay? So that's the vehicle that you're actually using in order to move through the go-to-market strategy to get to the destination. Now, if you've ever been on any trip in a vehicle, sometimes the conditions change. And when those conditions change, whether it's rain, snow, a blockage, an incident, you have to change your plan. You need to shift gears, put on your window wipers, turn up the heat, turn down the heat, get someone out of the car because they're annoying. Whatever it is, you need levers that you can use in order to still allow you to get to your destination. It just means you're gonna have to change the look and feel of what that actually is. So that's what I want you to do to kind of set the context before we start jumping in to the 4 V's of go-to-market influence. All right, so now let's go back to the 4 V's, because the 4 V's act as your levers for your go-to-market execution. It's the thing that is going to allow you to decide what exactly do I do next. So let's jump into first understanding what these are, and then we're going to go into the details as to how they all come together. Now, the first one, volume, pretty obvious. If we are trying to figure out how do we grow our revenue, one of the levers that you have in your armor or in your toolkit is just do more. That's it. You might find that rather than trying to change everything, recreate the wheel, you simply just need to do more. There's not enough being done, and that's simply why the revenue is not increasing. Now, the thing that happens with doing more is that you have to understand what are the downstream implications and sometimes upstream when it comes to this. So every time we think about a change or using a lever inside our organization, we've got to think about, okay, so what does that mean at the top? If we're going to do more, which is effectively some kind of activity, some kind of marketing, things that are going to generate pipeline and also revenue, then it could impact quite a lot of stuff. And that's going to be at the top, we might need more budget. At the bottom, it might mean the capacity of the sales team, capacity of teams. Can they actually receive more? Do they have the bandwidth to do more? So while it is a lever, we have to think through what are the implications of all these changes, okay? Next one is velocity. My favorite. This is simply faster. Speed. What you could find is you're doing a lot of great things. There's a lot of great things happening across sales, marketing, the activity, even customer success. But it's just moving so slow. And if you watch my video on how to speed up your sales cycle, you'll see that sometimes we are our own worst enemy because we are putting blockers and hurdles and obstacles in our way that slow down our ability to deliver value to our market and in turn get money in the bank. So you have to figure out what are the stuff that's happening inside your organization operationally. What is the buyer journey that you are creating for your prospective buyers that actually takes place that you could change or modify in order to increase the speed. So I always think about the moment that someone finds your organization and they want to make contact or they start to interact with materials and content and webinars and activities, we want to speed up the pace at which they get in front of salespeople. We want to speed up the pace at which they get to a proposal. We want to speed up the pace at which proposal is approved and gets through the business. When we do that, that alone is going to speed up your revenue per day going through the business. Okay, so this is, if you think about retail, what's one of the things they do when they see a long line? I want you to physically think about a long line in a store or in a shop. They're like, get someone else on the till. That's what you need to do. You need to get more people on the till. So that's going to be something to consider. So when you're thinking about all your plans as a leadership team, just pause for a second and say, is this a volume game or is it a velocity game? But again, if you are going to get things through faster, do you have upstream the visibility of exactly what's happening? That's one of the implications. You need to see what's happening and is it the right thing to speed up? Downstream is always going to be things around capacity, all right? So if we get more in front of customer success, we just give them 10 new customers, now what? If we give salespeople 100 more leads, now what? Is that even doable? Does the quality start to drop? So you really have to, every time we're thinking about making one of these changes, we have to really figure out what are the next things that need to take place in order for this to be true and for us to actually reach the hypothesis we have, which is if we can get more first meetings in the diary in 1 week, then we can get more opportunities generated, etc., etc. Or it could be for marketing. If we can get more roundtable events created, then we can create more pipeline for the sales team. But again, what does more roundtables mean when it comes to budget, when it comes to team, even expertise? We've got to think about that. All right. The next one is value, which is higher. We want to sell higher. Sometimes the only move you need to do is add a few percentage points to the pricing. Now, you're going to have situations where that's warranted. And I'm not talking about the retail, just the RPI, just a kind of standard inflation pricing that you add at the end of the year. That ain't really going to do much to move the business. You're just kind of balancing the books. What you're really trying to figure out is how do we increase our average contract value with our prospects? How do we sell a bigger vision and take a bigger piece of the pie of the problem that they're trying to solve in order for us to get more of that? And I want to just break this down really quickly. So let's imagine that this is all of a problem that a prospect currently has. And what they need to do is they are trying to reach a desired outcome. So let's just say desired outcome. In order for them to reach a desired outcome, they need to solve these problems, these issues, these challenges and opportunities that sit here. Right now, they've come to you, you're going through a deal cycle with them, it's all going good. But you are only really solving this piece of the puzzle. Okay, so you're solving about 25% of the problem and they've got $1 million budget. So you're like, man, 250 is good, but what could we do if we could just add this extra product or extra service, or we work with an additional partner who can do this and we do the intro and we get a cut. So you're trying to understand, how do I solve more of the problem, ideally, and in turn create more value? Or just if you've got a value-based pricing or you've got a credit-based system, you want to understand more of what's going on inside your prospect's organization so that you can get them to commit to more upfront. That's going to drive the value up. So you're not changing anything here. All you're doing is driving more value into every single deal. Again, we have to understand what the implications are of this upstream and downstream. Financially, in the systems, downstream, do you now need to change your pricing books inside whatever CRM you're using? Whatever it is, there's always going to be something that is a consequence of you making a change to one of these levers. All right? Now, the last one, last but not least, is vitality, right? Which is all around kind of retention and quality. The goal is, if you have a requirement to increase your revenue and you are an organization that's of a certain size that has existing customers, what we want to do is we want to strengthen the relationships we already have with customers and identify what we could do to add more value, aka sell them some more shit, right? Because it's much easier, and for the most part, it's cheaper. It costs much less to get more revenue out of the people you're already working with than it does to go find more and increase all the volume and do all these pieces. Sometimes it's a low lift for marketing, could be a low lift for sales or CS. I don't know the structure of your team, but you're trying to understand how can we do more inside our existing customer base in order for us to increase revenue. Now, again, the implications of this, right, is upstream, right? So upstream is kind of like how are we positioning this to leadership, the board, what that means, the overall plan, the roadmap, does it impact it? Downstream is going to be directly after the decisions are made. So upstream is typically before and during. Downstream is like the decisions being made. Now, how does that impact stuff? So now it's going to be like expertise, right? Expertise. I love that you can never read this. It's just for me. So the expertise of the team, do they understand how to articulate the particular value proposition of the new products or services or solutions that you have? Because it sounds great on paper to say, oh my God, we're just going to upsell or we're going to cross-sell or whatever we're going to do with existing customers. We're going to offer workshops or services. However, if they can't articulate that, it's going to be very hard. You also may find that inside here, your anchor for increasing retention, vitality in here is actually to develop a referral program. Maybe you want your existing customers to go promote you and they get an incentive, and then that next person that signs up gets an incentive. So our goal is, when we're thinking about growth in our organization and we're saying, okay, we need to increase revenue. We've got all these ideas. Let's go to this event and let's do this. Just pause for a second and say to yourself, what are the 4 levers that we have that we can move around? Let's figure out what are all the ideas we have around volume. What is it that we could do more of, or sometimes less of? And we want to list those all out. Actually, I'm going to draw this out for you because this is pretty important. Let's go back to this sheet, right? So what we want to do is we want to say, so we want to say, which V is it? So we want to look at volume and we want to say, okay, cool. So what's the ideas? Do you notice that this is just me improvising, by the way. This is just how my brain works. So what are the ideas that we have around volume? This is the worst way to sort out these columns, so stay with me, right? So we've got volume. I should have put what V is it? So we've got volume here. We've got idea 1, idea 2, idea 3. Cool. All right. So what's our hypothesis about this? Great to have an idea. What's the hypotheses we're developing about this? Okay. And then the next thing we want to do is, what is the upstream implications and what's the downstream implications? Because that's going to help you to work out, is it even viable? Sounded great that we should go out and now start cold calling. The idea we have is the team are going to cold call these people. Okay, all right. The hypothesis is that if they go out and they cold call X number of people in this industry or this vertical a day, and then it does this, this, and this, then we will be able to drive more revenue. Fantastic. The upstream implications of that are some prep work that has to happen before. Do they have a leader that's going to own this? Do we have the dashboards reporting, etc., etc.? And it's like, oh, okay, maybe not. No, okay, so who do we need to train them? Yeah, we do. We need to now train them. Okay, cool. Where does the training come from? Do we have training budget? Is there someone internally that can do that training? No? Okay, this idea seems a bit weird. And what's the downstream implications? Well, if we do hit the ideas that we have, we're going to push through 20% more opportunities to the sales team. How are they handling right now? Oh, they're already quite tough. So we might need a new salesperson. Is the salesperson in the budget? How do we now need a business case to get that salesperson in the budget? Because now we've got this hypothesis that we're trying to prove. All of these things, just because you've come up with some ideas. But most companies come up with ideas and they're like, that sounds great, let's do all of them. And then it falls down and there's not much buy-in because marketing's like, hold up, 1 second, where did you buy this random data that's not opted in? Why are we cold calling these people? Like, it just goes crazy. So we have to understand what that looks like. And we need to go through these processes rather than sitting around a leadership table just throwing out too many ideas that actually don't stay connected and also don't translate from ideas into action. Now, the last part to thinking about the 4 V's of influence is everything that we're doing here is amplified by quality. You can't do more of bad stuff. You cannot make bad stuff go faster. You cannot do bad deals at a higher value. You cannot do bad deals to existing customers in general. So we always have to understand the quality and what is our capability to make sure that we can add a compounding effect to some of these activities through maintaining and setting the standard for the quality of the activities that we're trying to do in order to create influence on our go-to-market strategy that drives more revenue. So when reviewing performance and you're in your, let's just say reviewing, so when you're reviewing performance, and you're in your teams, just ask yourself a few questions that's going to help to open up the floor around the 4 V's. I'm telling you, it makes the conversations so easy compared to what happens normally, which is lots of ideas and then no one really does anything. Okay, so we're thinking about increasing revenue. We want to put some ideas on the table and we're saying, is it something where we need to generate more pipeline? Now, let's not assume that pipeline creation is not an always-on problem. It's an always-on part of a business, right? But what I mean is specifically, there's going to be a time frame, there's going to be a sector, a vertical, a region or something where the revenue is not doing what it needs to do. And the question that's on the table is it pipeline that we need to generate? The other one is, do we need to, is it a sales cycle issue? Is it a sales cycle issue, right? Which is going to start to allude to things around velocity. What more can we do with deal values? And do we need to increase or improve retention? Start to surface some of these questions in this is like 4 of a million questions that you can answer, but I'm trying to get you to begin to think through these levers. It's so much easier when you're sitting here and your revenue's slow and it's easy, like we don't have enough customers. It's like, okay, but what is the data telling us? And how does that then inform where we look when it comes to the 4 V's? Because if we're seeing tons and tons of leads, do you know what? We might need just to maintain the volume, and it's actually a quality thing. It's just quality that we need to fix, right? If you're not seeing a lot of leads, then it is actually just volume. We need more because we don't know enough. We don't have enough data points to even make any other decision. Or you're getting lots of leads, things are coming through, people are having lots of conversations, but you're like, it's just so slow. Why is it taking us 2 weeks to respond to leads? Why is it taking us 2 weeks to get the next action in a diary? Okay? You might start seeing a trend where you're saying, we've got really good benchmarks. We are hitting really good markers when it comes to standard industry conversion rates. But the revenue is just not really reflecting that. Maybe we have a value problem. Maybe it's a case where we actually just need to increase our prices. It's too low. Demand is obviously there. We're just way too low. So maybe if we can just see what is that breaking point where a price increase actually starts to show a decline in conversions. But there's always a balancing of the books that can happen there because you're thinking, actually, to be fair, if our conversion rates drop but our deal value is much higher, we're okay with that. So we've got to think through that. And the other side, of course, is when we're looking at our customers, are we doing enough? Are we doing enough? Are we missing payments? Do you know that some companies that do not have all the systems and sophistication in place will check through like customer usage, customer contracts and be like, oh my gosh, they've gone over the threshold. They now need to pay us $100,000. Like that has happened. I know people that have actually hit target simply because of a contractual thing that they did not keep on top of. Okay, so just to pull some of these ideas together, have a think about this. You cannot control everything when it comes to go-to-market and your business, but there are definitely things that you can influence from the inside in order to help you as an organization grow. If you start to think about volume, vitality, velocity, and value, it's going to make it much easier for you to think through what levers you're going to use in order to influence your go-to-market strategy and, of course, grow your revenue. Okay? Thanks for joining me again today. Until next time, everyone. See you later.